Okay, so I'm going to hand over to Gillian, who's going to sort of set the scene, if you like, for the day.
Thank you, John. I'm now paranoid. I was speaking at one of our events on Saturday and I nearly fell. So I am now watching every step. I went down a hole in the floor and did a spectacular balancing act to stay on my feet. So I'm now paranoid about cables, holes and tables behind me. So I'm just putting that there. I'd like you to be extra protective of me today just in case I repeat that. So I'd just like to echo Joanna's welcome and welcome to Scotland for those of you who've travelled across the border to come and spend time with us today. I've heard a number of jokes around our weather today, that you may have arrived on our one good day. This could in fact be our summer. So it's a lovely time for you to see Glasgow and a lovely time to see Scotland. Although I heard Joanna saying that actually it's like this every day in Scotland. We just don't tell people in case you actually want to come live here. So we're really pleased to welcome you here. We're co-hosting this today with Belmas, with the University of Strathclyde. And it came about when Joanna and I attended a Belmas Leadership Research Interest Group last year that Debs was leading, and the focus of that included leadership preparation and use of research with practitioners. It was really interesting and really helpful to our work, and we thought it would be a good idea to host a session in Scotland where we would share some of our learning. And leadership development for us in terms of setting the context, we in Scotland see leadership as a key driver to improving outcomes for young people in Scotland. And that's been a real focus for us for a number of years. And I'm going to talk a wee bit more about that this morning. We have a national improvement framework in Scotland that David may refer to shortly. And school leadership is one of the drivers in the national improvement framework. The others are teacher professionalism, parental engagement, assessment of children's progress, school improvement and performance information. And we see that work collectively as a real focus for improvement in our system. But leadership development in Scotland has been a priority actually for as far back, I was going to say as I remember, but that might not be quite true. But we introduced a headship qualification in Scotland as far back in 1998, 1999 with the Scottish qualification for headship, which went through a number of iterations in terms of leadership development in Scotland. But I think in terms of a significant shift for us, you'll have heard of, I'm sure, of Teaching Scotland's Future, which was a Scottish Government report led by Graham Donaldson, our former Chief Inspector of Schools, in 2011. And looking back, that has been a significant driver, I think, collectively for all of our work since then. And that set teacher professional learning and leadership development as a real focus in our system. And for me, looking back on that, what was really interesting was that it wasn't about pieces of work sitting in silos, but it was about recognition that to support, to retain, and to grow the capacity of a teaching profession right from ITE, that professional learning needs to be at the heart of that work. And that has been a strength, I think, of our system in recent years, holding on to that importance of continuing learning for our profession. And teachers in Scotland, by and large, see that now as an entitlement in their work, an entitlement to high quality professional learning and support, but also that they have an entitlement to contribute and to shape that. We've been doing some work recently looking at teacher professional learning across Scotland, and a strong message has been that teachers want to own that learning. They don't want learning that's done to them and cascaded from above. They want to be engaging and shaping professional learning. So the Donaldson work that I spoke about, that I mentioned, encompassed a number of areas, and I know Joanna said that no one's going to stand up and speak to you for an hour this morning, and I'm not, honestly, but we could talk at length about aspects of that work, because it incorporated that focus on professional learning, incorporated a review of the GTC Scotland professional standards, which now mean that there are standards in place right from ITE through standard for registration, a standard for career-long professional learning, and standards for leadership and management that incorporate both a standard for middle leadership and a standard for headship. We have a system of professional update in Scotland where teachers are confirming their engagement in professional learning with their employers and with the GTC. And the Scottish College for Educational Leadership was established as a result of Donaldson's work. I'm going to just say a wee bit about some of the work that we've taken forward in recent years. One of the messages that you'll hear this morning in terms of our learning is that our leadership development over the past 4 years has been built on a requirement and a need to construct our learning together. And you'll see that in evidence this morning. Part of that is because SCEL as an organisation was and is a fairly small team. So we knew that we couldn't take forward the work that we wanted to do in isolation, but we didn't want to. We had a genuine commitment right from the beginning about engaging with and working with universities, working with the government, with employers and with the profession themselves. And again, hopefully you'll hear that today. So those strong partnerships have resulted in a suite of leadership learning for teachers in Scotland that includes teacher leadership with a real focus on inquiry, on classroom work and on collaboration. And if you follow some of our work on Twitter across Scotland, you'll see teachers really enthusiastic about the impact of that engagement on their classroom practice and on their colleagues. We've done a lot of work around middle leadership, recognising middle leadership not only as a pathway to formal leadership roles, but a need for professional learning for middle leadership as an end in itself. And we think, I'm sure Leslie, no pressure, Leslie will be nodding when we say we still think we've got a lot of work to do in building our middle leadership offerings in Scotland. We've had a real focus on school leadership, and that's what we're going to focus on this morning as part of this interest group, because we wanted to select one piece of work that we could really share with you in depth to get the dialogue going that we want to happen today. But in terms of that school leadership preparation, to make sure that we have enough head teachers and that our head teachers are great head teachers, we have programmes including into headship, which we're going to focus on today, in headship, towards headship, excellence in headship, and I never manage to say all of those usually without getting at least two of them mixed up, so I'm impressed that I've managed to give you that list. But they focus on preparing new and aspiring school leaders right through to continued professional learning opportunities for experienced head teachers through excellence in headship. We also have a fellowship programme for experienced heads, but there's quite a bit of change in our system just now, looking at school leaders and central staff as system leaders, and we know that we need to revise our fellowship programme to take that into account. And we've recently launched a programme called Leading Systems Change, and that's to support leadership learning for those working in senior roles across our local authorities as we move into new models of working, which encompass regional improvement collaboratives, or local authorities working together to drive change and improvement. So there's been a lot of work going on in our system. I said earlier that I wanted us to focus today on headship preparation as that model to encourage our discussions. And it is a model of co-construction. When we speak to colleagues from other universities, from other systems, and from schools beyond Scotland, they're really interested to hear more about the model of co-construction. When we looked at revising our into-headship qualification, or introducing a new into-headship qualification, we were working on a really tight timescale. SCEL was established in September 2014. Marjorie had been leading a group prior to that, looking at revising headship qualifications and what we needed to do as a system. Our First Minister announced in February 2015 that the new into-headship qualification that was still in development would be mandatory now by 2019. So that certainly sharpened the focus of our development work, and it meant that it was even more important that we worked with partners, with universities and with colleagues to develop that programme. And it hasn't been a smooth process, so we'll be really honest with you in our sharing of that partnership model today, what some of the strengths have been, but also what some of our continued challenges are in terms of quality, in terms of delivery, and in terms of real partnership working and ownership. So we're going to share that with you today in terms of information that we hope you can learn from us, but what's really important for us today is what we can learn from you in those conversations too. So if you were working in our system or looking into our system, what would you be doing differently? What can we learn from your practice in different areas that we could be building in as we revise our programmes and move forward? So to share that with you this morning, we have a panel sitting patiently behind me, and I'm just going to introduce the panel and then pass to them for the conversations. I'll start from this end. At this end is Dr. Marjorie McMahon, who will be a familiar face to many of you. Marjorie works at the University of Glasgow. She was actually involved in the scoping work. She led the scoping team that established SCEL, so she's been embedded in this work for a number of years and leads a number of leadership programmes in Glasgow, both in Scotland but also internationally. Sitting beside Marjorie is Linda MacDonald, who was a participant into headship in cohort 1. We're now in cohort 4. And Linda was telling me this morning, David, you'll be delighted to hear this, that from that first cohort, she's almost certain that every single participant in the group is now a head teacher, definitely in primary and possibly in secondary. Because one of the things that we're really interested in is that conversion. So it can be a great leadership learning opportunity, but what's the impact on our system? How many people are moving into headship posts, and what's the quality of that headship having engaged in that learning? Linda's also engaged in the headship programme. I was going to say for your sins, Linda, but I won't add that. So she'll be able to share a perspective, both of our learning on the programme, how it's impacting her as a head teacher, and also in terms of her next professional learning. And beside Linda is David Roy. David is from Scottish Government, and again David worked on this area for a number of years. For us, that's been a real strength. I'm not sure for David if he would agree, but we've really benefited from consistency and support from the same team at Scottish Government in driving this work forward. And again, not setting David up, but David is always very honest about Scottish Government's engagement in the work and the opportunities and the challenges that we face as part of that, and he'll share that with you today. Sitting beside David is Sarah Jane Riley, and Sarah was a participant. I should have said, sorry Linda, Linda was a University of Glasgow participant, and Sarah Jane was a participant at the University of Strathclyde. And Sarah Jane received her standard for headship just on Saturday, and I was joking to the assembled group to be very careful, because we come and we find you and we ask you to share your experience. So Sarah Jane was witness to that. She was also witness to the near topple on the stage, which is probably why she's sitting down. And beside Sarah Jane is Leslie Whelan. Leslie and I work at SCEL together. Leslie is SCEL's Director of Programmes, and has been heavily involved in the leadership, not only of the Into Headship programme, but in the development of SCEL's suite of leadership programmes. As we've been developing these over the years, and Leslie will be able to share her perspective of leading the design group and the continued engagement with all of those partners that we talked about earlier, both the opportunities that brings, and I guess as well some of those challenges. One of the things that I should have said, which I didn't in terms of setting the context, is that our role has recently changed, very recently changed. When we were established by Scottish Government as a company limited by guarantee. So we were independent from government, but almost fully funded by Scottish Government funding. I think in recognition of the importance of this work. Following a governance review in Scotland, we've now moved in our SCEL team as a collective into Education Scotland, and we're now part of the wider team in Education Scotland, which is a government executive agency. So there's been a shift in our in where we're located and our model of organisation, but hopefully not a shift in our direction of travel, and in fact an opportunity to grow and develop further some of the work that you'll hear about this morning. And we'll also be taking forward a lead role in wider teacher professional learning across Scotland, which for us is a really exciting opportunity to do that and continue to work with partners as we take that forward. So that's the context. I'm going to pass over to David, who I think is going to start the discussion. Thanks, David.
Okay, thank you very much.